to realize our need for God, to make time to spend alone time with Him, that we wouldn't need a priest or a preacher because God gave us a Savior, that gave us access to a Father, that when we submit to a process, not of our making, but of His, we can be initiated as men into true masculinity, that we can be led by Him so we learn how to lead, that we can be loved by Him so we learn how to love. This is Ponds and Beavers.
Hey guys, man, last night me and my wife were talking and God just kind of showed us both something really cool. I just wanted to share it real fast. I always say real fast and it ends up not being fast. Anyways, so yeah, we'll get right into it. So we were talking about God's call in our life, and it just kind of hit me that more so than ever, after walking with God for as long as I have, and just going through making plenty of mistakes and failing and learning and growing, and the pretty word for that is maturity, but the reality of it is pretty ugly and not so pretty. And so that maturity, though, as it builds and grows, as you walk with God and continue to walk with Him, and you learn more of not only who you are, but what God is. So the what, the who is the most important part, who we are, but then the what our calling is, what God has planned for us, what He wants for our life, for us to do, put our hands to. So he gave me, I'm really visual, so he gave me just this really cool picture, and it's really simple, so I wanted to draw it, but it has to do with an upside down pyramid. And so the world says that you need to have your together, right? You got to have this point. Everything is teed up, right? There's a point, there's a precision, there's a, whether it's skill sets, the world demands performance. And anyways, so, you could say that this pyramid, right? It's not, if you're just a mess, you maybe don't have the right skill sets, or you don't have necessarily the adequacy for whatever it is that the job needs, maybe at that moment. Doesn't mean you can't learn, doesn't mean you can't grow into the shoes they want you to fill. But if you don't have this right off the bat, it's just like an instant dismissal, right? On to the next guy who maybe does have that, right? And so let's go to God and how God operates. So how God operates is different. God operates, shocker, right? An upside down pyramid. He takes man's ways, right? When Samuel was choosing the next king, and how he overlooked David, right? And what God told Samuel, that man looks on the outside, but God looks at the heart. Well, we just went over what man looks like on the outside, but here's what God looks at. He says, it's okay that you're kind of a mess right now, that maybe you're inadequate, maybe you don't have the right skill sets right now. He says that's okay. I'm going to meet you where you're at, right? I'm going to meet you here in this place. And here's what differentiates those who are able to walk with God and be used by God and become the men or women that God has created them to become and be. Willingness. Here's the defining factor. Here's the non-negotiable. Here's the part that has to be there. This, well, let's go into why it's an upside down pyramid. Over some time, guess what happens? God hones you in. God makes you a precise instrument of skill whatever on the outward, right, on the outside, you call it practical, whatever that thing needs to be or become, as you walk with God over time, right, days, weeks, months, just walking with Him, one more step of obedience, maybe a couple more now, 100 steps of obedience, 1,000, eventually it starts to get that upside down pyramid is less of this, sort of giant hole, right, in your abilities, or however you want to see it, and it becomes very honed in. And that's what kind of hit me last night, was what God was showing me, was that over time you'll learn more of who you are, but it's over time. You don't start off like that. You don't give your life over to God and say, all right, God, I'm 100% in, and then all of a sudden you get this guy. No, that's the lie and really foolishness of the world, thinking that that's possible, because it's really not possible, right? The heart is what matters most to God, right? Not this. Here's the cool thing: this can change, right? Something God showed me a long time ago was that what He can't use is someone who's not willing. He can't use that, right? God can do nothing with that. But when we're willing, right? Oh, He can work with that, right? So that's His message to us: is, son, just be willing. Don't worry about your inadequacies, right? I mean, heck, me doing all this right here. I mean, you want to talk about feeling inadequate? Really knowing actual practical inadequacies. I mean, all this stuff, me having to learn, posting stuff on YouTube and all that. I mean, this stuff stresses me out, man. Like, this is not my forte. This has never been my strength, right? But here's what God can do. He can use willingness. He can say, son, I'll fill in the gaps. God is a gap filler. He can fill in those gaps. But what He can't do is force us to be willing, force us to just believe. Jesus said, blessed are those who believe even though they don't see, right? What God can't do is make us believe, make us trust Him, make us open up our heart and our life to Him and say, God, take it 100%. Here I am, But the upside down pyramid is true nonetheless. That when we give Him, and I love that about God, He meets us where we're at. We don't have to. Here's the difference between God and the world. We treat each other like this. Give me this. This is unacceptable. I want this point. You better have your shit together. This is what I expect. And here's what God says: son, just give me your heart and be willing. I can handle this. I can handle the mess. I can handle the inadequacy, right? And with my toddler son, I've learned so much as a father, but also for me as a man, understanding that the times when I'm patient with my toddler son, and I'm not always patient, but the times that I really work hard and fight to be patient, to understand where he's at, what am I doing? I'm meeting him where he is. He's a toddler. So why wouldn't God be exponentially better of a father than I am? I'm an imperfect father who's still learning. I'm new to this. But God meets us where we're at. Like 1,000%. Like He's right there the second we're willing, right? So anyways, guys, that's the message, the upside down pyramid. And let's not let lies or twisted sort of fractures of the truth, partial truths, let's not let that fool us into thinking that God operates like the world, because I think that's keeping a lot of men from walking closely and intimately with God, because we think we have to get our shit together, before we approach God, before we get to God. No, that's not how it works. There's so many times where God challenges me, son, just admit that you don't know what you're doing. Admit that you're scared, or admit that you're struggling, that you're stressed. Just bring all that to me. And man, I tell you, it's a game changer. I would not be here today if it wasn't for me first doing that, taking all that to God, being overwhelmed, whatever it is, and Him just literally picking me back up putting me on my feet, dusting me off, right? And saying, hey, it's okay. We're going to grow. We're going to get prepared, right? We're not going to stay here, right? We're going to keep walking this out. And the more we walk it out, the more pointed, the more precise our recognition of who we are becomes, right? The image of ourselves, the more precise that image is, and it's less skewed. Anyways, I could probably just keep going on, but hope that makes sense. I hope that encourages you, like it did with me last night. Just kind of, man, I really needed to hear that. So I hope you guys needed to hear that. And make time to get away and get along with God. All right, bye.